I'm gonna try to see if I can watch it on my computer, but I'm having a little problem with the Wi-Fi on that, but I'm watching it. And so hopefully it will catch up. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm just gonna squish out a bunch of paint, and I layer, so I'm just gonna start going here. All right, let's see. Hopefully my live stream is flowing, because my Wi-Fi is pretty good here, but I'm hoping it's not freezing. So I'm just laying out a bunch of paint colors, and I'm gonna paint. I paint with a ton of white paint, and I use medium, so I'm gonna squish out in the middle here, matte medium. I like matte. You could use whatever when you're painting, but I put a big puddle of it in the middle, and that way my paint doesn't really dry out. I always need, oh, that's buff titanium. I use a lot of that too, but I always need white, and I usually do at least 2 squishes of white. And then I'm gonna get started kind of just putting some colors down. I need a little yellow. I'm gonna get squishing away in a minute. This is emerald green. Turquoise. I'm just grabbing paint. Colors I kind of think I might want to work with today. Got lots of water because I do not like dirty water. And then I'm just gonna go. All right. All right. Now, I'm just gonna mix and go. Now, if you've watched my channel, you know that I don't usually paint very abstractly, or you won't see me doing it, but I do it all the time in my sketchbooks and in my own practice. I kind of go back and forth between abstract and realism to keep very loose in my painting practice. So it's my practice to go between the two, and that's how I stay very open in my work. So today I'm gonna kind of go in here and really try to be free with what I'm doing. And what I have is a little sketch going that's very, it's abstract, but it's also got it's got realistic elements. Maybe the colors are very exaggerated. And so I'm gonna lay out some of that going in. but it's going to be very playful, I think. So just going to let it all kind of unfold as I go along. But so this is going to have elements of a landscape, but it's not going to be like any landscape you've ever seen in real life. It's going to be an unrealistic landscape. Strictly pretend. This is strictly pretend landscape. And sometimes I like to have these strictly pretend paintings because they can be really fun. And when I'm doing this, I sometimes just mix right on the page and I don't worry about a thing. There's something about the sketchbook or painting in the sketchbook because there's just no rules, and the fact that no one really ever has to look in here, that makes it so freeing, I guess, that it doesn't really matter like what you put in here. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm wasting a really expensive canvas or anything like that. You can just squish out whatever you feel like squishing out and kind of go for broke. I'm looking for a kind of an orangey color, I think. Because orange next to blue always looks really cool and amazing. So I want to put a little bit more red into this deep yellow. That's what I'm looking for. Oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And then let's see. It's satisfying to throw those colors down next to each other because they crave each other. They look so good together. I'm softening it a little bit with the buff titanium. And then I had, oh, here it is. I always need my little rag to wipe on. There we go. Okay. So now, let's see. All right, so what I want to do, I'm looking for a darker green here. So I want to throw in some darker kind of shapes here, maybe. Sometimes I repeat elements across the page because I feel like it ties things in across the piece. So even though I have another plan on this side of the page, I want to get some of that same color over here and repeat some of those elements again. Now you'll get to see part of my other plan because I had already put in some of these really vibrant colors. I guess I'm being influenced a little bit. I live in New England, so I have We are in the probably our peak foliage season. So we have so many colors going on outside right now. So I am definitely being influenced by the colors that I see every day when I walk outside. And I live in the country, so we have so much color going on right now. Everything is outrageously colored right now. We are in our peak season for color. It's really beautiful. So I am just trying to grab these colors, and I'm really doing very little thinking and planning right now. I am just playing with these colors and putting down big shapes on my paper. I had done a little bit of a drawing, but not much of a finished plan on this abstract. I knew I wanted kind of a landscape kind of abstract, but really more intuitive. I don't want to copy like real things. I just want to bring in elements of plants and nature and bring those things in, but without being super realistic about any of it. All right, now I'm going back into this really cool orange I created, which I love this color. Let's make a red orange because I added quite a bit of red to this yellow orange. It became now. There we go. Now this is just my first, what I consider to be a first layer on here. And I think I might come back in to this layer with, I don't know, Neo color maybe, not sure. Neo color 2, Neo color 1, once we have some of it down. All right, I'm just getting these shapes in. I want quite a bit of nature elements in this. I got some trees down. Let's see. I had some. I know what I want to do. Hold on. I want to get. I'm not happy unless I put pink into stuff, boy. I gotta get some pink in here. And that's what I'm trying to do. Yep, there we are. If I'm not. And that's why I have two things of white, because I messed them up so badly. And here is my, oh yeah, that's gonna look very cool over there. I love to have pink where it doesn't belong. And yep. Although I was looking out the window this morning and everything is, like I said, so bright and alive out there that I looked out through the trees, which still have quite a bit of leaves and stuff, and I was looking at a pine tree, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at the colors that are coming through. And I saw yellow and in one place pink, and it was just astounding, like what was coming through the trees, just the colors. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So I was pretty blown away by just what was coming through the tree. Just the colors, unbelievable. This morning, just looking out the window, so beautiful outside. I can't. It's very distracting. This is the worst, worst time of year to drive around in my area because it's unbelievably gorgeous where I live right now. People come here from all over just to see the leaves. It doesn't get old, you know, even if you live here, it never gets old. It's always gorgeous. Okay, now I want to make this look a little bit more. Okay. Right. Okay. Sometimes when you put a neutral next to all this brightness, it does it gives your eyes a place to rest, which is why I include things like you know, like a neutral gray sometimes, or like right now I'm using a buff titanium, which is just the titanium white, but more of a beige tone. And it does make a huge difference in your work, because those neutrals, even though I love bright colors so much and I use a lot of bright colors in my work, when you start adding in these neutral colors like the neutral beiges, the neutral grays, that really does, it gives your eye a place to rest. So there's a couple of brands of paint, like Golden makes a lovely, and Liquitex too, make lovely neutral grays. They make the buff titanium, which I adore. And these colors are really good for adding those places for your eyes to rest in these kind of compositions. So I'm gonna just do a small place like this. Just so that it's not just a huge riot of color, you know, we're just calming the eye down a little bit here. Now, there's some things I'm gonna change things as I go along here. So if you're wondering why, why I keep painting over stuff, I change things the whole time I'm working. So this is just what I do. And that's why I think a lot of times in layers. Okay. And I will go over things that I feel like, you know, if I lose a little something because I'm slapping the paint on so fast, if you're wondering why I slap the paint on so quickly, that, you know, this is how I paint. So I go back a lot of times and I rework places, or I think, maybe that should be brighter. I don't really like how that looked, so you know what? I'm just gonna go back in with my darker green and upgrade that back to what I originally used, which was the olive, which I liked better. This is an olive green. Oh yeah, I like that way better. And I'm gonna go back in. Yep. Yes, like it. Yep. All right. I almost half felt like I forgot how to paint with acrylic. But obviously that's not the case because, you know, even though I had been away from it for a while, I really missed it. And I don't know what it is about the summer, but I just get this craving, this huge craving to paint with my water-based media in the summer. I think because I paint on location a lot and it's just easier to go outside in the garden and, you know, on location. It's so much easier just to take the watercolor or the gouache or whatever the sets. It's easier to take that stuff out on location than it is to take anything else. So it's just so much easier for me to take those things with me when I go out anywhere. And that's why I do it. Okay, now this right here, I think. Oh yeah. So this, oh my God, that's the brilliant green, so beautiful. And I want to liven this little piece up with this. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. But there's something about putting down like the thick, really opaque colors, like you do with the acrylic, or you're putting down like that nice juicy oil paint. It's just so nice to be able to do that when you're working with these other colors. Now, and even though I love to use these bright colors, I very often will take, you know, some earth tones or something like that. And like I said, the more neutral colors, and work those in. Okay, so now I'm looking for, I have my neutral gray ready, but I do not have my yellow ochre ready, which I really need right now. And I'm going to look for it. And if I can't find it, I'm going to make it. But I know I have it. So yellow ochre is an earth tone. And let me see. I know I have some. Because it is a go-to color for me. And I use it all the time. And it should be in with my earth tones, and I do not see it. But let's see. Okay, well, what can we make it with? We're going to make it with cadmium. We'll put some cadmium yellow down, and then I'm going to just throw in, if I can make it with, or make one that's similar to it, I could certainly make a similar color by adding just a little bit of burnt umber to some cadmium yellow. So I'll just add a little bit. Yep, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to mix my own little version of it here. There it is. I think I added a little bit too much umber to that. Okay, that's all right. I'm going to just add some more. Okay, so now, since it's too dark, I'm just going to add, make a little bit more of this and this. Oh, we'll get this solved in no time. I just added a little bit of that. This time I did cadmium, a little bit of Naples. I'm going to grab some of the stuff I pre-mixed and then put it in. You always want to add the darker color in a little at a time. I put too much in. All right, dark enough, but I gotta be careful. Okay. There it is. All right. Now. All right. Now. Oh, that's exactly the color I was looking for. All right, so now I'm gonna come in here with this color, which is also a neutral, and I'm gonna go into this area. So earth tones can be or act like neutrals too, which I love about them. They're a little bit more intense than using gray or buff or something like that, but they're also calming colors, right? So I do love them, and I do use them quite a bit. Burnt sienna, red oxide, raw umber, burnt umber, they're all beautiful colors, and they act in that same way in a painting, very calming colors. And I love those colors against the brights. Yeah, that's really nice. I like that a lot. And I'm gonna put some here because this is supposed to be like a little, now we have some bright colors in here, but I want to add some details here. Like I wanted this to look like a little meadow above this water, okay? And then right in here, just the suggestion of one. It doesn't have to be. Look at me messing that brush up, boy. All right, now, just on the water's edge, which is, this is the water, I'm just gonna put a little bit of the green in there. That same green, and tie that in over there. Nice, okay. I'm really liking what's happening in here. Starting to really, I love that. That's amazing, right? So, kind of digging that. Let's see. And then maybe I'll add some, just some mark making in here with some white. Just gives it a little bit of a highlight, I guess. Just kind of like breaking it up a little bit. Just gives it some more interest in there. I like the stuff that's going on. I'm thinking I might want to, now see, I have this, I know it seems probably so weird, but I've got a little method here. So I have this white is for my cool, my warm colors. This white is for my cool colors. And if I have to, I have another sheet under here that I can mix colors on if I get, I'm a mess when I make the color, mix my colors. So like sometimes I have to do another sheet. So I'm trying to think. If down here I may want to do some paler colors, I might want to get in here with, I think I just had some really, what was that? Naples yellow. Try not to. I don't want to think too much. That's the other thing. It's the kiss of death. So I'm going to go in here with some of this really pale green. I don't want to think too much. Thinking too much is a bad thing. So I'm just going to let myself paint without trying to think. When I'm going quicker, I have less chance of overthinking this intuitive painting. So I'm going to push myself to go faster, because when I stop to think, then I'm going to mess myself up. I'm just going to get right in here, stop trying to think about it, and just paint. A lot of times when you are really overthinking things, that's when you're going to mess stuff up. I'm trying to think and play like you do when you're a little kid. I teach children, and oh my goodness, they're so unbelievably creative because they don't think about it. They don't think or overthink anything that they do when they're painting and drawing. They just go in and they paint. And you don't have to teach anybody, you don't have to teach children how to paint. You just have to give them very little instruction and materials, and they know how to paint already, you know. So, and we are all born that way. And it's just teaching adults is just having them remember that they were born creative. So that's what I always tell everybody that comes to my classes. You just have to remember that you already know how. But they are an inspiration. I love the way that color looks next to the red. Now see, red and green are complements, so putting this green next to the red, oh my goodness, it looks so great together. So hopefully, let's see how we're doing here. I love the way that looks. And this is just permanent green with white. So I'm just using the same colors. I try to, once I'm into a painting, to not add too many extra colors once I'm kind of into the painting process. But I really like what's happening with the ones I'm using. So now I want to think more about making this part of my painting more interesting. So I'm going to go back to, like, I like all the stuff that's happening here. So what I'd like to do is this part of it, I think, needs a little bit more going on. So I'm going to try to add some more interest and stuff doing it. I have some paintings that I've made before printed out, and some of my other kind of abstract intuitive paintings that I've done in the past. I have them out just as kind of a reference, per se. So I'm not really kind of looking at them at this point. But I'm trying to just make this corner a little bit more interesting, I guess. So let me see. Yeah. Now, these are watercolor pencils, but it won't really matter so much because I'm going to be I'm going to be painting over all this stuff. But sometimes when you're laying down or putting the layers in, it can be helpful when you're activating them, because it kind of gives you an idea of maybe, you know, of whether or not stuff would be interesting. So I'm just putting in some random shapes back here, and already the negative space is kind of working in a better way here. Trying to, actually what I did when I first blocked this out was I drew some different lines and stuff to break the page up. Like I drew a line here, then I dropped it here and went across, so that each section was, you know, like a little different vignette. Okay, so I broke it up into different sections and stuff, and I very often work that way when I'm doing an abstract. And like when things are moving in a diagonal way across a page, it makes things more interesting. I had started a little line here that then went nowhere, so maybe I would like to do something with that, or continue the idea of, you know, I like things to move or have movement, so I put these flowers in here going do, you know, they're moving. I have this kind of like a little trickling stream going down into this body of water that goes somewhere off the page, and then, you know, like a little meadow that goes, I don't know where. These are just like plants, and then, maybe a meadow full of pink flowers, and then some other things that are growing, but, you know, they're kind of ambiguous. We don't really know exactly what those are. But, you know, I like to have things happening on the page in different places. So I'm trying to just think where else maybe I could have things happening. So I did start a little thing going across the page here. So I'm trying to, maybe I'll have it come this way, across the page, and then I'll have it come this way. I'm not sure. Behind this tree. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. I'm trying to see how big I want. I want it bigger on this side and narrower on this side. So I'm going behind my tree. And then, okay, so let's deal with that first, and then I'll see what I want to do with it. I may want that to also be pink, but I'm gonna do it a lighter pink. And yeah, because the pink really looks nice next to that bright orange color. So I'm just gonna, this is way too big, so I'm just gonna get out of here and grab this instead. Okay, so now I'm gonna have a little bit more control with that while I'm coming down. Not that I always have to have control, because sometimes I'll just go ahead and stick it in the other hand and not worry about it. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll do that right now. Because a lot of times when I feel like I'm picking at it too much, I'll put it in my left hand, because that way I can't, you know. And I just go, you're getting too fussy. So I paint with the other hand, and that will loosen me right back up. This is your more, like, your non-dominant hand, and even though I am, I'm right dominant ambidextrous, so I can paint with this hand. I am less dominant with my left hand, and so I will, this is your more creative side. The left side, or your right side if you're a lefty, you're going to be more creative using your non-dominant hand, so you should always switch back and forth if you can. It is a big tool. All right, I'm gonna get some of that in there. Trying not to put my clothes in there. All right, now, all right. Okay, so now, let's see. Okay, now we're gonna go in here. Oh, that was a little dark. I'm trying to make a light gray here. And then I think what I'm going to do is do some mark making, and I'll see what else I want to add in here, because I still want to play with it a little bit. I'm not really, I mean, this I think is, when I get to this point, I like to kind of look at it and see what I can add. What elements I want to add to it. I mean, sometimes I'll go over areas and see if I want to add collage to this. More painting, neo color. Sometimes I really just want to take a look and see what other elements I could bring into it. It's still kind of a blank canvas at this point. I mean, it's just, this is a layer to me. I mean, you can still go so far with it. I mean, there's a lot to do. And I always do a messy first layer. I mean, a lot of this is, I just kind of try to get a really intuitive feel on the first pass, and I make a big messy paint. I mean, this painting is messy. I painted over a lot of stuff, and look what I did here. But I try to do it fast, because if I don't do it fast, I start to think too much, or because I'm trying to get my ideas done or my ideas out without stopping that flow, you know. And maybe some of these areas should, you know, I maybe got a little crazy. That's okay, because you know, you want to, I felt like I like it. So it's okay to do that. That's okay, you know. I'd rather get everything in that first layer. I'd rather get all my ideas down on the paper and then come back and kind of say, oh, maybe I would rethink this or whatever. But instead of stopping that flow, you know, go back in and kind of tweak things later rather than stopping the flow of what's happening, because then you end up with this really kind of intuitive idea, and then you can go back into it and really play with what you have. You know, you have a really good kind of an intuitive starting point and that whole thing. So I like that. I like to be able to really have that to play with, you know, that huge intuitive starting point, and then you just go back in a little bit and see what, you know, see what evolves from there. You know, you don't have to. Now, I think that's a little dark, so I'm coming back in with, I like these shapes, but maybe I'll come back in with a lighter value, right? See what happens here. If I don't like it, I can fix it with my paint. I can go darker. And so that's what I'm doing. And I did lose some of what was happening here because I got so wild when I was painting. I was so happy to have the pink. Oh my goodness. I was so happy about what I was doing with the pink that I got out of control there. All right, let's see. No. All right, I like this. I like the idea of the turquoisey green. Not sure if I like what's happening now. All right. Okay. Well, those shapes I'm gonna have to redefine, but that's okay. Okay, let's see. Now is this what is this? Derwent. Nah, I think what I need is, I know exactly what I need for that. Hold on 1 second and I'm gonna get it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think these need neo colors. Okay, let's just grab a few things. I'm gonna get some of these. I'm gonna grab a bunch of colors. So I'm just gonna grab some neo colors. Then I'm gonna grab my collage box and just see if I want to add collage. I'm gonna go through that. I'm gonna see if I can. I like to go through sometimes and just see if I have anything that I can cut or. Oh wow, that could work in here. Maybe. And then I like to see if I have anything that could possibly work in the. I have so much in my collage box that sometimes if I cut things or like I see this that might be able to work in one of these places that might work. I don't know. We'll see. It might. I see this one piece here. This is part of a jelly print that I made. And it's cool because it has a similar vibe to what I have here, but it has some really cool gold elements on it. Sometimes I really like adding that stuff in. That could work, and it looks really cool. So what I like to do when I'm doing that kind of thing is I take just the matte medium, right, to attach it. And, you know, I would take matte medium. I like to tear it because I like the raw edge, right? So, you know, just, you know, a really good amount of it, because matte medium is exactly like the paint, only it doesn't have pigment. So it's exactly the same as the acrylic paint. And so then you just would put it on underneath. And it's so close in color. This piece of collage is so close in color to what I have. It doesn't matter that I don't cover I'm not covering the entire thing. It's just, okay. So I put it underneath and on top, and then I'm gonna push the whole thing down with my paper towel. I could paint right over this because the matte medium is the exact same thing as the paint. So, and it blends right in with everything that I have down here. And I really like it because it's got the gold. And yeah, that's really cool. So I'm gonna leave that. And then I'm gonna go back in my box and see if there's anything else that might work. I have lots and lots of prints that I've made, and some of them are really, see, like this one has a lot of the similar colors that I'm using, so I could cut out some of this and add it into some places. Like, I like this little, this piece I really like, but it's kind of boring, so maybe I could cut segments of this. You know, I don't have to cover the whole thing, but I could cut segments of it, like little pieces of it. And it's super close. It's very similar colors, right? So I could, you know, I could cut little pieces of it and add it. I could add it to bits of it, you know, and it would look interesting. Like there, I could put a piece. I could put, yeah, that could work. It could work like going around this. I could have a little piece going there, right here. Collage makes a giant mess. I've already made a giant mess on the floor, and I just started. It's very funny. I don't mind. I just make a mess and then I clean it, you know. But all those things are like super helpful for me. Like when I'm making stuff, I don't really care about any of it. But it can be fun to do these types of things. I don't know. I love it. All right, so let's see. I like to shape it a little bit though. I'm gonna play with it. This is all fun to me. Like, this is all part of the process. Yeah. I think these types of things add so much interest to the thing that you're making. I just find it interesting, you know. This is interesting. Collage, always, it's just part of the layering or part of the process. And like this stuff is just, I don't know. Like when I'm doing my regular painting, I very often add collage. I love it. I love collage in my work. So it's very often part of my my painting process, my regular painting process. You never see me do it obviously with watercolor or anything, but like when I'm doing this kind of painting, collage is always, I think about it all the time when I'm doing this kind of work. I really like the way it looks, and this added a lot of dimension because of the mark making that was involved in those little scraps. That was a jelly print. All right, so now I think I'm just going to add a little bit more paint on here. I don't know. I could add paint. I could draw on top of this if I want to add more. I could draw right into that paint. Neon color is pretty amazing. You could just paint into all this stuff. That also helps, like, it, so I guess solidify the idea, or I love drawing into these acrylic paintings with the neo color. This is neo too, so you really can activate it if you want to. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I just leave it, you know. But you absolutely can activate it. This is the same color, but it's still adding mark making, you know, and the mark making is so important with some of this stuff because it really does add so much detail. We're adding, when I'm adding the mark making to things like this tree and it's just another way of adding details. But I do really love mixed media work. It's just really fun. Now, so your details can be lighter or darker. So now I'm putting pink. I love pink and orange together. Oh my God. They just, the two things together, forget it. I love it. Okay. I really love the way changing the colors of these leaves made this part stand out. I love the aqua green against the pink on that side. Now I'm going to add a little bit of that detail on here. And the thing about these neo colors is that you really can draw right over the acrylic with them. So this really can be developed further into another painting if I wanted to put it on a canvas or something and really blow it up big. I haven't done a big one like this in a long time. I really want to go over this little ochre background with some of this lighter yellow though. I think that's going to look really cool. That'll make the background look more dimensional. And a lot of times it's not like, oh, you have to draw a whole bunch of stuff, especially on something that's this abstract. You can just go in and just do some mark making, okay? And that's enough. try going lighter, try going darker, using different values, you know, putting in dimensional things and different values. I mean, even the little bit of collage, I mean, you can't even tell it was collage. It's just, you want to put a lot of different variety of everything in. I really like this shape over here, but it's kind of doing nothing. So this is, what color is it? It's kind of a very similar color to that. So I don't want that color, but I do want a dark color. And so let's get this blue and see if we can bring some interest. And I'm going to do that. So now I'm going to add some marks to it and see if it makes a huge difference. It does make a difference. Maybe if it was a darker color, I'm going to add some in the lighter color and see what that does. That actually looks really good too. And I'm actually thinking, oh no, I don't know if I can get any more of that up. But you know what I'm thinking is if it went all the way up, it would have been more interesting. And I think I'm going to just leave that there now. And I'm probably going to sign myself off. And I hope you enjoyed this. And I'm going to take a look at the comments and see if anybody has questions before I do sign off here. I'm going to just pull this down. Hold on a sec. Just give me a second. I hope really kind about, hi Melissa, hi, ciao amigos, amici. It's good to see everyone here. I really appreciate your hanging in with me because sometimes I can't really figure out the whole tech thing with the live streams. I'm trying to get it figured out. My own, I had it pulled up on my computer and it was freezing, and I was like, I hope that's not happening to everyone else. So we'll have to see what happens when this posts. I won't know because I can't look at it right away. And I appreciate everybody who came and stopped by, and hopefully it will post the right way. I won't know till tomorrow, and if it seems like it's in good shape, I'll put it up tomorrow. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate everyone. And I will see you all soon with a new video next week, probably on Thursday. Okay, take care, everyone. Ciao.